This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavana Casey. In this edition, we bring you the stories making headlines across the globe, from Ukraine peace efforts to US-Iran talks, scientific research to cultural milestones and remarkable human feats. Let's start with the US broker talks held in Abu Dhabi between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine and Russia have carried out a rare prisoner and civilian exchange following 2 days of US-brokered peace talks in Abu Dhabi. The talks, however, produced no breakthrough, with Ukrainian President Zelensky saying progress had been difficult and calling for faster results. A total of 157 Ukrainians, 7 of them civilians, and 157 Russian soldiers will return home in the first such swap in 4 months. Russian, Ukrainian, and US teams took part in the talks in the capital of the United Arab Emirates, with the main sticking points believed to be territorial concessions. Ukraine is under pressure to secure security guarantees to prevent further Russian attacks if a deal is agreed to end the 4-year war. Ukrainian officials say 139 had been in Russian captivity since 2022. The talks in Abu Dhabi, the second round in recent weeks, are part of US President Donald Trump's efforts to end the war. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner have been leading the negotiations. Witkoff says the talk had been detailed and productive, but added that significant work remains. The most difficult issue is territory, with Russia demanding that Ukraine cedes the rest of the eastern industrial region of Donbass that Moscow does not currently control. Another key sticking point is believed to be Kiev's demand to get robust security guarantees from its European allies and the United States. In a developing story at this point of time, US and Iranian officials are holding direct talks in Oman as tensions rise and fears grow of a possible military confrontation between the two countries. The talks, which are a part of a regional diplomatic effort to ease tensions, follow a US military buildup in the Middle East after Iran's crackdown on nationwide protesters. The talks between US and Iranian officials have begun in Oman amid weeks of escalating tensions and fears of a military confrontation between the two countries. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi traveled to the Omani capital Muscat for the discussions, while US President Trump's advisors Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are also said to take part. An Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson says the goal of the meeting is to reach a fair, mutually satisfactory, and honorable agreement regarding the nuclear issue. The exact topics of the discussion remains unclear, as the Trump administration has been pushing for issues beyond Iran's nuclear program to be on the table despite clear opposition from Tehran. Members of the UK Parliament have voted to approve the release of documents linked to the vetting process that led to Peter Mandelson's appointment as a US ambassador. The move comes amid mounting pressure on Prime Minister Starmer following renewed allegations about Mandelson's close ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Starmer has publicly apologized to Epstein's victims and said he was sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies, accusing the senior Labour figure of misleading those responsible for approving his appointment. Mandelson gave the impression during the vetting process that he barely knew Epstein, an account Starmer now says was inaccurate.
I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him. And sorry that even now you're forced to watch this story unfold in public once again. But I also want to say this. In this country, we will not look away. We will not shrug our shoulders. And we will not allow the powerful to treat justice as optional. We will pursue the truth. We will uphold the integrity of public life. And we will do everything within our power and in the interests of justice to ensure accountability is delivered.
The decision follows renewed allegations about Mandelson's past relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and questions over whether those ties were fully disclosed before his appointment in 2024. Opposition lawmakers and some members of Stammer's own party have called for greater transparency, arguing that the release of the documents is necessary to restore public trust and clarify what information was provided to ministers and officials at that time. The UK government has said it will comply with Parliament's decision, though the timing and scope of the document release have not yet been confirmed. The controversy has intensified scrutiny of the government's handling of senior appointments and raised broader questions about accountability and due diligence at the highest levels of public office. In the medical research old, over 100 years of preserved bowel cancer samples at London's St. Mark's Hospital may help explain why the disease is rising among people under 50. Researchers hope the Boomers project will uncover links between diet, lifestyle, environmental factors, and DNA changes by comparing old and modern samples. In a dusty room in the basement of St. Mark's, the National Bowel Hospital in London of the UK, over 100 years of bowel cancer samples have been preserved and stored in cardboard boxes. These samples, which are almost thrown away, may now hold the key to understanding why bowel cancer is increasing worldwide among people under 50. The study, called the Boomers Project, will analyze samples from the 1960s and compare them with modern-day cancer samples, with the hope of uncovering how changes in diet, lifestyle, and environmental factors may be driving the rise in bowel cancer among younger people. Kevin Monahan of the St. Mark's Hospital says the research team is sequencing the DNA and through other lab techniques to understand what the exposures were.
There's a perception of a typical bowel cancer patient as someone who eats unhealthily and doesn't exercise, but it's not my experience. Actually, in my experience personally, in my clinical experience, where I see people who are newly diagnosed with bowel cancer at a young age, they say, well, why has this happened to me? Because I'm healthy, I eat healthily, I exercise regularly. And I say to them, it's nothing to do with what you have done. Although exercising regularly and doing all those things is very important over your lifetime, it will result in a healthier life.
The Institute of Cancer Research in London says diagnosis of the disease among the under 50s are expected to double between 2010 and 30. India's legendary comic series Amar Chitra Katha, first launched in 1967, remains a favorite among young readers for its vivid tales of Indian mythology and history. Now embracing digital platforms, the series has refreshed its storytelling and artwork while continuing to celebrate and preserve India's rich cultural heritage. India's iconic comic book series Amar Chitra Katha continues to remain popular nearly 6 decades after its launch in 1967. The series, created to introduce children to Indian mythology, history, and folklore, has adapted to changing media consumption habits in the digital era. Amar Chitra Katha, which means immortal illustrated stories, has expanded beyond readers on smartphones, tablets, and other digital platforms. Despite the rise of streaming services and online entertainment, the coming series continues to attract young audiences and preserve interest in India's cultural heritage. Publishers say the series has updated its storytelling and artwork to appeal to contemporary readers while retaining its original mission of educating children about India's historical figures, legends, and religious traditions. It is noted that the Amar Chitra Katha's ability to adapt to modern technology and maintain its relevance highlights the continued demand for culturally rooted content in India's children's media market. Brazilian multisport athlete Pepe Mancini has set an unusual endurance record by running 188 kilometers in 24 hours on a treadmill. Mancini's feat highlights the growing popularity of extreme endurance challenges in Brazil and worldwide. The feat concluded at an open-air gym on the famous Ipanema beach in Rio de Janeiro, where a festive countdown 10, 9, 8, 7 marked the end of his marathon effort. Mancini, known in Brazil for his extreme athletic challenges, trained for months in preparation for the attempt, which tested both his physical stamina and mental resilience. The athlete said the attempt was not only a personal goal but also an effort to inspire others to push their limits and pursue their own endurance challenges. It is said that running such a distance in a controlled environment like a treadmill presents unique challenges, including heat management, repetitive strain, and maintaining focus over an extended period. Mancini's achievement adds to a growing trend of extreme endurance records in Brazil and around the world. China's Shenzhou 21 astronauts have been conducting experiments and health checks aboard the Tiangong space station for over 3 months. They are studying how medicines work in space while doing exercises to keep their muscles strong in weightless conditions.
China's Shenzhou 21 astronauts have steadily carried out in-orbit experiments, health monitoring, and maintenance tasks aboard the Tiangong space station over the past week, according to the China Manned Space Agency (CMSA). The crew consists of mission commander Zhang Lu and astronauts Wu Fei and Zhang Hongzhang. They have spent over 3 months in orbit and are all in good condition. In the field of space medicine, the astronauts have been continuing work on a pharmacokinetics research project. By collecting saliva samples, which will be sent back to the Earth, they aim to support researchers in studying how medications behave in microgravity. The resulting data will help improve in-orbit drug use protocols for future missions. In terms of physical health, the crew participated in lower limb stimulation exercises while wearing biomimetic adhesive shoes. These exercises are designed to stimulate the flexor muscles of the legs under weightless conditions. Electromyography and muscle ultrasound data from the lower limb muscle groups were collected for further research.
The guitar played by late rock legend Kurt Cobain on Nirvana's hit song Smells Like Teen Spirit will be auctioned next month. The 1966 Fender Mustang is one of several famous instruments being offered for sale. The instrument is among a wide-ranging collection of historic musical instruments being offered for sale, spanning multiple eras of popular music. Auction organizers say the items provide a rock history from the British invasion to the rise of alternative rock in the early 1990s. Cobain, who died in 1994 at the age of 27, became a reluctant voice of a generation, and artifacts linked directly to Nirvana's global success remain scarce and highly sought after. Also included in the sale is the logo emblazoned bass drum head used by the Beatles during their landmark TV appearance in February 1964, a performance widely credited with igniting Beatlemania in the United States and reshaping the American music industry. Together, the items highlight pivotal moments in rock history, underscoring how individual instruments and stage props can come to represent seismic shifts in popular culture. Meanwhile, the world of music is also celebrating its present stars as the 60th Grammy Awards was held in Los Angeles, with Kendrick Lamar emerging as the biggest winner for the second year in a row.
Golden, the inescapable hit from the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, has become the first ever K-pop song to win a Grammy Award. Performed by the fictional band Hunter X, it picked up Best Song for Visual Media as the awards ceremony got underway in Los Angeles. Released last June, K-pop Demon Hunters became Netflix's most viewed movie of all time with more than 480 million views. The propulsive soundtrack, full of candy-coated earworms, became the first to top the Billboard chart since 2022, when Disney's Encanto created a similar craze. Its success at the Grammys suggests a growing recognition of Korean pop's cultural and commercial force. Other early winners included British stars Youngblood, The Cure, and FKA Twigs, and 8-year-old Aura V became the youngest ever Grammy recipient for Best Children's Album. The premiere ceremony took place across the street from the main Grammy Awards at Los Angeles Peacock Theatre. Ahead of the ceremony, Kendrick Lamar took home 3 awards, including Best Rap Song for TV Off, continuing his Grammys winning streak. 86 of the night's 95 prizes were handed out, covering most of the genre categories, including Best Country, Best Rap, and Best R&B. The first award of the event went to Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, who picked up Best Pop Duo or Group Performance for their wicked duet Defying Gravity. British star Youngblood won Best Rock Performance for his live rendition of Black Sabbath's Changes, recorded during Ozzy Osbourne's farewell concert in Birmingham last year.
Thank you so much. I can't believe this.
Kenyan designers are highlighting sustainability at Nairobi Fashion Week, showcasing collections made from locally sourced and eco-friendly materials. The event aims to raise awareness about fashion's climate impact while promoting Africa as a leader in environmentally conscious designs. Kenyan designers are taking the runway in a bold effort to promote sustainability and decarbonization in the fashion industry at the Nairobi Fashion Week this year. The event, which brings together emerging and established designers from across Africa, is using the platform to draw attention to fashion's climate footprint. Organizers and participants emphasize the environmental cost of the second-hand clothing imports, which dominate much of the continent's fashion market. By contrast, the showcased collections focus on locally sourced materials, renewable fabrics, and design practices that reduce carbon emissions. The week-long event features runway shows, panel discussions, and workshops aimed at educating consumers, industry stakeholders, and young designers. The displayed collections blend traditional African aesthetics with modern sustainable technique, reinforcing the idea that high fashion need not come at the expense of the planet. It is hoped that the initiatives like these will inspire other fashion weeks and brands to adopt greener production processes, reduce waste, and invest in circular economy models, positioning Africa as a leader in sustainable global fashion. Ice floating, a cold water recreation activity, is gaining popularity in Moscow, where participants float on the icy Moscow River wearing insulated wetsuits. Organizers say the activity is safe, relaxing, and growing in public interest since being introduced to the city this winter. Cold water recreation activity is gaining popularity in Russia and has recently appeared in Moscow, where participants enter the icy waters of the Moscow River during winter months. The activity involves participants wearing insulated rescue wetsuits that allow them to float on the water's surface while maintaining the body warmth. Organizers say the equipment enables safe participation despite low water temperatures. Ice floating has been practiced for several years in northern regions of Russia, including the Murmansk region and Lake Baikal. This winter, the activity expanded to the Russian capital, where temperatures in January and February can fall to minus 20 degrees Celsius. According to organizers, the practice is promoted as a form of relaxation and stress relief. Sessions are conducted under supervision with safety measures in place. It is said the public interest has increased since the activity was introduced to Moscow this winter. Local officials have not reported any incidents related to ice floating activities in the Moscow River. Hundreds of devotees gathered at Batu Caves to celebrate Thaipusam, one of Hinduism's most important festivals. The event features rituals such as body piercings and pilgrimages up to the 272-step staircase to honor Lord Murugan. The event features rituals such as body piercings and pilgrimages up the 272-step staircase to honor Lord Murugan. A sea of color lights up Malaysia's landmark Batu Caves outside the capital, as hundreds of thousands of Hindu devotees gather to celebrate Thaipusam, one of the religion's most revered festivals. The festival, which honors Lord Murugan, is marked by elaborate rituals including body piercings, ceremonial off, and long pilgrimages. The festival, which honors Lord Murugan, is marked by elaborate rituals and long pilgrimages up to the 272-step staircase to the cave's temple. Participants carry kawadi, ornate structures balanced on their shoulders or hooked to the skin with skewers, and perform acts of devotion to seek blessings or give thanks for answered prayers. Officials say security and health measures are in place to manage the massive crowds, which include both local devotees and international visitors. The festival draws attention not only for its religious significance, but also for its dramatic and visually striking rituals, which are considered a testament to faith and endurance. It is said Thaipusam continues to play an important role in preserving Hindu traditions in Malaysia, while also attracting tourism and promoting understanding of the community's religious practices. The festival lasts several days, with devotees and spectators alike participating in ceremonies, music, and prayer at the limestone caves and surrounding temple complex. Italy's Venice kicked off its 2026 Carnival with a colorful parade along the Grand Canal, attracting large crowds of spectators. Dozens of decorated boats sailed past featuring themed costumes from pirates to science fiction as the traditional Pantegana rat marked the start of the festival.
Venice officially launched its 2026 carnival with the traditional opening parade along the Grand Canal, drawing large crowds to the city's historic waterways. The event featured the Pantagana, a large carnival rat symbol that traditionally marks the start of the festival, as it floated down the Grand Canal amid confetti. Dozens of decorated boats took part in the procession, with crews dressed in themed costumes. Participants represented a range of themes including Olympic-inspired teams, pirates, science fiction characters, and traditional masked performers. Spectators gathered along the canal banks to watch the parade. The Venice Carnival is one of Italy's best-known annual festivals and typically attracts large numbers of domestic and international visitors. Organizers said they plan to maintain the festival's traditional elements while incorporating new themes and performances to engage younger audiences and international tourists.
That is Venice kicking off its 2026 carnival in a spectacular style. Well, this brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We shall see you again next week with a new episode. Also, do follow us on our website www.nepaltvworld.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.